Howdy ho again, everyone. Today we're checking out a game called MEMORIAPOLIS. This is for the full release and Industrial Revolution update. All 5 ages in the game, and the complete version. This is the last time we played. Much of the game's UI and many of its systems have been massively overhauled, but I'm very happy with the changes. We're going to see them in a moment. But all you really need to know is that this game kind of feels like combining, say, for example, Cities Skylines with Civilization, or even Seven Wonders, the board game, where you're rising up, or even like Rise of Nations, if you want to go a little bit further back in gaming history. But you're seeing a city evolve throughout the ages. So we're going to start a new game in a second, but this is a sponsored stream. Big thanks to 5 PM Studio for sponsoring this video. I did check it out a few months ago, and I enjoyed it very much, but when they reached out and offered to sponsor a video, I did say yes. And I want to see what they've got going on here in the full build. So we're going to start a new game. We're going to be doing classic mode. We could do endless, but that's experimental, so we'll just keep things as standard as possible today. There is a new snow map, though, which is quite nice. Now, each game starts with 1 of 6 rulers, so there's quite a lot of different bonuses you could try here. You've got your craftsman, so you've got like the kind of extra natural resources. You've got the trader, so you could go for like more commerce and gold. You could go with the strategist, so you keep better control over your provinces, and so on and so forth. You've got the politician and the priest, but I'm going to stick with the philosopher. I liked that the last time, and I still think that its bonuses are pretty good. You get more satisfaction, better blueprints, and more know-how slots. And I think for our crest, we'll pick, let's take the Axe of Philosophy. It is perfect. All right, we will be ambiguousamphibian. There we go. And we'll go with Robert. And we go with my Italian last name, Ambiguini. There we go. Robert Ambiguini. It is I. Alright, so we've just spawned in on our map, and we have a few different places to choose from. Now, we don't get a random map, but we can choose from one of many different places each time we play. So I think the last time we played at Riverside, and this is a pretty good spawn location, but let's try something different this side. We're going to try Roadside instead. So we're going to place Villa Ambiguini right here, and let's build that. Here we go. Okay, Veneratus Bene. The first family heritage of your reign has been completed. It marks the beginning of the first era antiquity. Now we have 5 ages we'll go through. If we survive, that is. Each age will come to an end when your city center has reached its 5th evolution, or when the available cycles have expired. Time is running out, and there's still a long way to go. Okay, so we've got to get up to the age of enlightenment. And as we go through, we're going to go through various waves of politics and various factions making their way in and through and over our city-state. Alright, so we've got a connection to the main road here. I'm just going to pause because I want to get everything set out before we get started. There really is a lot of time pressure here because we've got the esplanade to satisfy this time. So every few cycles, or every few hundred cycles rather, we're going to be rated on our acquisition of resources. If we're satisfying our population, if we're growing up enough political factions and various special interest groups, and then building points, so how many, like, you know, ancient wonders or just basic buildings are we creating. Alongside all of that, we've got our blueprints to look at for upgrading everything, and all these menus have been massively revamped since the last time. I really much better like the look of these, so hats off to the dev for this. They look a lot better than they did before. Anyway, we've got surveyors' cabins up here to kind of increase our area because we've got this area around our city that we could start building in. Everything outside it is the danger zone. I mean, actually, this is the security area, but I mean, it is the danger zone. We've also got this, like, nice new art going on here where it kind of feels like a little bit more painterly, but it just sticks out a little bit more to me. Anyway, we gotta kind of take a look at our area and decide which natural resources are going to be the best for each area. So we could probably start off with a cutting camp over here. Now, we might want to build this even deeper into the woods. Although there's also some really good-looking woods over here, and I think we could get more natural resources over this way. So let's build out some surveyors' cabins so that we can connect those to the rest of our city. And I think we'll put that maybe here, because that way we could get a nice radius for our cutting camp, and then also maybe a mine on this mount. So that's going to help. Let's keep time paused for just a moment. Farms. We need farms if we want to feed our people. So just taking a look at all of the land over here, I think our farm is going to do best in this open field out on the other end. We have a few options here. This radius is going to expand, so let's just get started on our proximity right there. But we want to get started right away if we can, because we don't have a ton of time. Now, I don't want to put these quarries too close to my city, so I'm actually just going to wait a couple cycles for these to be built, and then I'll pause time again in a moment. Because right now we aren't actually producing any resources, but you really don't want to waste your cycles here. Okay, so we've got 3 cycles gone by. We're going to put down a cutting camp right over here. It's going to be right in the middle of the woods, and we'll try to max this out. So 8,343. Too far constructible zone. Okay, here we go. 8,500. Wow, that's great for wood. This is going to take 10 cycles to complete. We also want to get a farm out so that we can actually feed our population. Now, this will expand a good bit. I think it can go beyond roads here, so we aren't going to be stuck on one side. Most probably. We'll try to get it... Oh, look, we can get it over to the other side. Amazing. All right, that's great because there's lots of open field area there. Now, we want to try to keep these away from our city center because they're going to cause perturbance. And perturbance is perturbing, of course. Oh, we actually have some food to start it. Maybe I could have gotten away with doing a quarry instead. Oh, well, we still need 2 more workers for that. So now this is our population, 15, and we've got about a third of them are able to work. So every time we get, like, 3 new population in, we get another worker. So now we've got enough for a quarry. And I'm probably going to keep this maybe out here, or maybe I'll put it right over here, because it looks like we have good access to stone in this section. We can't really put it right there. 2,800, 2,900. Can we get 3,000? It's pretty good. Around about 2,800. So we'll build one there. Right, now we've got all of our basic resources going up, and our city is building into districts as we go. So the city is kind of building out. A few citizens are living in here, and we want to try to get some cultural buildings for them as they move in. The city has a basic attraction, but, well, we can increase some of those. We can kind of incentivize people to live... I believe it's, like, in some of the districts rather than others. I'm not sure if it actually affects the entire poll. But we can kind of see it here. It will become a little bit more clear when I show the attraction of the city. Look, the attraction is blue. We also have different, like, filters. It's a little bit easier to see here. If you hover over the resource, you can see what is being contained in which natural resources, which is quite nice. Anyway, the Esplanade is ticking along day by day, so let's go ahead and just continue with our production. We don't really have anything that we can buy yet, so let's just go. And we're trying to save up 112 wood and 150 stone. So we've got to wait a little while before we can do this. You know, if we could get up a second one of each of these producing areas, that might be nice, but I can't. I just don't have the workers yet. All right, maybe we'll try to upgrade those as we go. We just got to wait for a few more cycles to pass. All right, and we have got our cutting camp out, and we are just about to get our stone mining operation running, and we have got our farm. But we are starting to produce fields. So each of these fields, I believe, produces 6 food per cycle, but well, we aren't even at our full field capacity yet, so I suppose that we need more. All right, we're continuing along here in antiquity. We want to get up to level 2 of the city so that we can start to get some more cultural buildings. So I'm debating on, we could get a second camp. Let's see if this will actually work. Yeah, we've got space here for another quarry. Okay, this might seem like a bit much, but I really want to max out our econ game early here. And since we can't really produce any culture right now, and I don't want to start up a quarry right by the city, I think I'm going to put in one more quarry just out here by this little mountain. It's going to get a little bit in the way of our farm, but that's going to be really useful just for kind of giving us a head start. We don't have quite as many stores for our stones, so this will be nice. We might even get in one more cutting camp, but that might be too much for our workers. Our workers are kind of a precious, finite resource. I mean, there are more coming in, but there's only so much we can do from age to age. As far as everything else, we gotta unlock our basic city structure first. Or our first upgrade before we get anything else. So let's just let time go by and wait for some resources. Alright, I am going to put in one more cutting camp while we are just getting started here. I just want to get this jump start really fast right here so that we can be roaring through our resource production next. It's going to be important for what we do later on. All right, and along with that, it looks like we are just about ready here to engage in our very first city improvement. So we're going to spend our resources on this, and when our city upgrades in 10 cycles, we're going to start to be able to do a lot more things. This is kind of just like super primitive, just basic agrarian civilization we've got up till now. When we get up to this, we're going to start to get into the ancient age. Which we are in antiquity right now, but now we have access to an architectural office, so now we can start to build all kinds of new buildings of different types. These are all color-coded, basically like the faction leaders we had before, but now we have access to satisfactions. So these are going to be kind of an existential goal for our city. Each of these provides a different bonus, but if you neglect them, then you are going to get like people rebelling and all kinds of stuff like that, as well as factions which may start to arrive based on what we build, so we have to be careful what we choose here. And there is one that I would kind of like to prioritize over the others. Let me just pause time here for a second. So we do have access to quite a lot of new things here. We can improve each of these. Let's just get our architectural office, because that costs nothing, and that's pretty great. And we will just make the land around that slightly more attractive, but I don't think it really makes a difference. Let's just put that over here. We could have the architect's office facing the road. I'm a little bit picky here. I just want it like looking nice. There we go. Okay, so that is going to be built. We've got a couple of workers on that. I'm not sure we have enough for anything else, really. Yeah, our other workers are busy. Otherwise, though, we want to start to attract in factions. And how can we do that besides getting some cultural buildings up? So one of the most important ones of these is the Forum, I believe. It has great attraction, so it's going to start building everything up a little bit faster. And that's going to attract in the plebs. We want to get the plebs to come and join us. So we're going to get that. And I also think that the Esculapium is also a pretty important building. It just has the belonging satisfaction, so it improves resource production, which is always great. As well as maybe the arena. The arena is fairly cheap. And the arena. I love the arena. Anyway, maybe let's get both of those right now, because I think those would both be useful. And we'll probably just get all of them, but let's just start with those for a moment. Okay, the other thing you might be noticing is that we're starting to get access to a few new resource types. Let me just slow down time slightly. We're getting clay as well as sand, so these are all highlighted in new areas where we can access them. So this is the kind of incentive to keep building out here. A couple of more of these will be added as we go up through the ages, too. We've got our citizens, workers. What are these again? Memory points. These preserve cultural buildings, so this will change as we go up through the ages, and it'll make sense later on. We've got some blueprints now. Do we have enough workers ready to get one of our cultural buildings? Not just yet, so we've got to wait until some of these workers free up. We really put a lot of people into resource production, so this might take a little while, but I don't actually like our city developing out quite so much so fast, but it's part of the problem for me building so many resources. Like, if you build too hard econ, you will be penalized later on for not having enough culture, and vice versa. Like, you might... It's very easy to just, like, go hard in on that, but... yeah, you want to be careful. Anyway, I'm going to wait to get some of these other resources because I want to get some of these cultural buildings up. And we don't have any, like, really advanced resources here. Anyway, we just need workers. So we're going to hit 17. We could get the arena, but I think I'm going to go straight for the Forum here because the Forum is going to give us access to the Senatus. And the it'll bring in the faction that eventually gives us access to the Senatus. And the Senatus is quite important for, like, all kinds of... like declarations that you can give, or like just kind of policy making. So I'm going to try to give it to these 3 sections because I want to try to get some culture into these areas. Now, it's going to give us these satisfactions, which are going to help our town. Each one comes with a default, and then we can choose for many of them. So I don't really care about food consumption loss because we already have so much food. Safety would be nice because we decrease the rate of incidents. Belonging would impact all resource production, which is quite good. And then lowering, I guess, creativity allows construction times to be varied. I think that this just means shortened, so that would be kind of nice. But safety might be good here for the middle of the city, just to start, because I have seen some incidents just take everything kind of off the rails in a moment. Like some people get a disease, or some people riot, or it is quite bad. Anyway, the main thing that we seem to be missing, though, here is workers, and that's going to be kind of our bottleneck here for a while. So I don't really want to do any more surveying. This is going to kind of waste workers. I just kind of want to build up our city center here for a minute. As we're going here, we are starting to see our various requirements for our esplanade. We're going to get, like, checked in 300 days. So the factions need to have reached a certain power. This is a little bit difficult to control. It's just sort of, like, it's going to happen based on what we're doing with everything else. Building points, we need to make 3 buildings within the next 198 days. We need to satisfy our population, which we are ahead of schedule. And then resource points, we need to be getting more of those good old resources of various types. Now, that being said, we do need more sand and clay, so that is another consideration. Are we actually able to get... Now we're going to have to wait a little while on that. All right, well, let's get up the forum so that we can start getting the plebs to come. Come on in, plebs. All right, there we go. The plebs have arrived. All right, the plebeians of Rome have left their native city following in the footsteps of Quintus. They were initially excluded from political office and denied civil rights. The men and women of this faction fought for equality and decided to move to another city to see their efforts rewarded. TBD whether they will be rewarded, for they are the plebs. If you accept them, the faction will occupy an available area in your city. Now, factions can be very useful because they can generate taxes. You can use them, but also, too, sometimes they oppose some of the doctrines that you're trying to create. So it can be a double-edged sword. Anyway, trust level at arrival. We'll handle this later. Don't let it get too low, otherwise bad things happen. What have we got? We still aren't really attracting in enough people. Now, there is a doctrine that we can enact to increase the migrant population here, but do I want to get in another faction, or do I want to get sand? I'm feeling like Anakin right now. Sorry, I had to do it. You know, I choose sand. It's time to get some sand. Yeah, let's get that going. All right, we are going to opt to not create a city, but we will build sand instead. And we'll get another surveyor's cabin, because I got to get some clay. Because there's some resources here that we just simply aren't producing, and our other resources aren't at cap yet, aside from food. I will go a little bit further out here. Where is the clay located? So we've got some over there, but I think that this general area is just... It looks more interesting, so let's go over this way. Build that there, and that is going to take only 2 days. Some of these pick up really fast. Now, I'm trying to seize on it every single day, because it does go quite fast. If you're wondering, like, why is he pausing so much? Some shenanigans can occur. That is to say. Anyway, we could use our one culture character to increase the forum's satisfactions. You know, we might as well, because... I don't think that's going to have any drawbacks. Let's just increase the satisfactions. Why not? Yeah. We could reduce the number of workers here, though, too. Is that... No, actually, we can't. My bad. So we just wait again. Okay, I'm building one more quarry, and I know I've built quite a lot of them. I could probably swap around some of the resources that each of these is producing, but hey, it's nice to have at least one specialized for each type of resource. So now that's going to take 10 more days. We're going to be producing plenty of resources here, and we still aren't really at our cap. And that also, I think that improves it for each one, but let's just kind of keep going here. So the next big thing that we're going to try to do is free up a lot of workers, because we've got to get more factions and more buildings in here. We're on day 128, and we are about halfway through to the next check, the intermediary evaluation, which we're starting to catch up with resources, but we still need more buildings, and we got to keep satisfying the population. So now we... unleash the full power of our resources to do all that stuff. We could also repair some of these buildings here, so it's kind of up to you to decide, would this be more advantageous to add into your civilization? So it does have various costs, but is that less than what it would cost to build... What is this, anyway? A ruin. So this is like a religious ruin, which is the folded hands there. We will discover these as we go. That is this message over here. Okay, the other thing I'm going to do is just take some people off of the fields, because we're already at max food production, and we just clearly don't need that much. It would be nicer to have more workers elsewhere. This is important to apply, because, I mean, I just have so few workers to start. It's important to find some more, and I want to keep improving my city, too, which we are almost there now. Okay, we've just freed up enough workers for the for the arena. So we're going to build the arena right here in Tamriel. And it looks like we can cover these 3 areas with just this one spot. So I want to keep getting this whole area covered. Now, we are starting to reach some of our satisfactions at, well, I suppose, total satisfaction of all the citizens. I guess you're limited to the number of citizens that you have each place. So we aren't really doing much for belonging, so I suppose we'll do that. That would continue to improve and buff our resource production. But we are getting pretty far along here now, and it looks like we're just about ready to do another improvement to our city. Amazing, isn't it? Alright, we just have reached the Villa Ambiguini improvement, so this is going to allow us to now produce stonemason carpentry. So now we can cut logs and stones, so yeah, absolutely, I will do that. That's going to take 10 cycles. I'm actually going to hold off on this one for just a moment, and we will be producing more resources before you know it. And we've also got this new faction screen, so they're going to start to, as they get more power, pave the way forward for getting more and more of these buildings, and later on I guess we get new decrees and things like that we use, like powerful new things if we kind of placate one faction over another. We want to keep them somewhat happy with us, but you can kind of side with one or the other. It'll become clear when more arrive. Okay, we just unlocked access to a couple of new production buildings. I think for right now, though, I want to get more of these buildings up and running. And I'm going to try repairing this ruin over here. So we are going to improve our belonging as well as, it looks like, our health and our creativity are not doing that well. We're pretty much fine on food, so let's do creativity again to just lower the construction times. Alright, now along with everything we had before, we have just unlocked access to the plans for stonemason and carpentry. Now we could start to upgrade these things, and maybe we will when we have a few more spare workers, but I think for right now, these processed goods are worth so much more. So as far as it goes with the Esplanade, we still aren't... we're a little bit ahead of schedule on everything, actually. It's nice to see this kind of ticking along, like how far am I off of my goals. I think for resource points, that's the one we're going to have trouble keeping up with. So let's just handle that next, because we're in a pretty good spot. The food is ticking down since I took workers off of that, but... I mean, they'll just starve. Don't worry about them. Alright, we need only 8 for each of these, so I think wood is looking very plentiful right now. I think it's time to get carpentry going. So I don't think that it really matters how far off these are, so I just sort of want this out of the way, and I don't want to bother the rest of my main city. The city is going to get perturbance issues if I put resource processing too close to it, and you don't want perturbance, so... maybe it doesn't look like a great place to build... oh, it is too close to a body of water. Okay, yeah, we'll just build it on the beach. Whatever, that's fine. I have no more room. I don't actually want to take up the trees, because I do think that takes away some of the timber from our resources, so that is quite bad. Anyway, that's going to get produced into more. And I don't think it's how much we have floating, it's how much we actually produce and use here. So, cool. Looks like we got an Escalapium here again. So do we have anything we have to increase the satisfactions? No, but that is just giving its kind of passive culture bonus to everything around it. Alright, well, we need a little bit of money for the next thing, so this is going to be tricky. We got to start to raise money, and we're going to need to start to go up to via Edificium, all the kind of economical cultural trees, because it's going to start to aid us in this way. So let's do this. We're going to buy these plans. That'll probably be our next structure, and then maybe we'll get the ceramic office and the Agoge Center. And then after that, we'll have one of each faction, and that's going to give our factions a lot of vying space for vying and competition in our city. And that's good because we kind of want cultural flourishing. So we've got the Escalapium Arena, we've got it. We just need Ceramic Workshop, Agoge Center, and Via Edificium. My Latin pronunciation is very rusty. It's been a while since high school. I mean, it would be via if you really want to be a snoot about it. In the classical Latin pronunciation, bro, actually. But I'm not going there today. All right, we need more faction power. Our factions gradually kind of gain power as they go. This is a good thing. And it looks like our resources are on point. I was kind of panicking over all that, because you can really get off to a rough start here. If you fall behind on the Esplanade, it becomes very difficult to catch up. And it's happened to me in another game. It's a little bit more intense than it was before. Oh, it looks like there's a celebration going on here. There is a carnival the citizens are celebrating. We love to see it. You love to see it. You love to see a carnival. Okay, it looks like our food float is a little bit low, but we really don't want to starve. Let's put maybe one more person onto this. Just want to apply that and see if it keeps our food float more or less stable. All right, it's still going down. Let's put maybe even one more person on it. So we're going to take one off of there and apply, and 15. That's okay. All right. It's time to get some money. We aren't making enough gold. We can go to... Oh, we aren't making any cut stone either. Let's make the Via Edificium first. Man, I remember back in high school when you had to pronounce Latin in front of the class. It was always such a harsh time. So I went to, it's like, it was a massive disaster if you pronounced a word wrong. Not wrong, but if you tried too hard or if you didn't try hard enough, you would be judged harshly by either the teacher or your fellow classmates. And we were all terrified of our teacher. Latin teachers are on a different planet. Ah, you love it. Okay, cool. We've got another faction. Oh gosh. Hoplites. Is it yeah, I think it's hoplites. Is that Greek? Oh god, I'm gonna get crucified for this. Anyway, driven by Andreas's ambitions, are a formidable military faction characterized by their heavy armor and long spears. In their homelands, they're feared for their discipline and phalanx formation, which creates an imposing force on the battlefield. Okay, so basically, the hoplites want to join our faction. They give us gold, cultural character of military type. The more cultural characters we get, the better. Here, we can like kind of set them off to various uses. Can we use him to increase the satisfactions? Yes, we can, I believe. Yes. I don't think that there is any real cost to this. So yes, increase the satisfactions. Do. Alright, so now that our, we've got the plebs here, so they're sort of like accessing new technologies. If we go over to the pleb tree, show me how the plebs are doing. The plebs have unlocked for us the Heliea, which is used to hold public trials. All citizens can attend if they find a place in this small venue. So yet more cultural production of trialing people. Who would have thought jury duty, the original jury duty. Anyway, we're going to put that down. Well, we want a stonemason too, because we aren't producing any stone right now. Problematic and bad. We will build that there. That's pretty good. All right. We wasted minimal timber, and are we ahead on... Yeah, we are doing great on the Esplanade now. Look at this. I was not doing this well at all in my last playthrough. It was quite sad. You should feel bad for me. Right, we just gotta start to think about how are we going to attract more citizens. Well, there are various ways that we can do that. We're going to start to unlock these service and wonder buildings as we get our plebs advanced further. We're going to get the Senatus, and the Senatus is very important. So let's go ahead, maybe get the last of these down. If the Via Edificium. I'm just going to vary my pronunciation a lot to whatever suits me now. I know how it's supposed to sound, but if I keep saying it like that, you'll think that I'm crazier than I already am. And maybe that's okay. Maybe I'm just trying to avoid it. Okay, let's get the ago... Actually, you know what? Maybe I don't really need the agoge. Maybe I want ceramic more, just because I'm already of the philosopher type. So I need to kind of compensate for my weak areas here. Unfortunately, I can't seem to get all the way to the center of the city here, which is too bad, because these areas with no culture are in a little bit more danger of, like... problematic behaviors, like riots and stuff like that, or, you know. Alright, let's see. Esteem was increases or decreases generation of tax gold coins. Yeah, so we definitely want more gold here. Mainly obtained by citizens living in factions and trade routes. They are used by various resources and political decrees. So yeah, gold becomes very important later on. I want to be careful with that. All right, we're kind of making our way through antiquity here. We've got enough to meet the first level of the Esplanade. Now, the requirements do get really high. 10, then 20, then 30. So buildings start to be worth more. It's not just like we have to keep producing so many of the same little thing here. Okay, I'm just going to put up the Agoge Center, and each district can have, I think it's 2 cultures here, based on the number of blocks that we've got available. This is a nice little overlay, but again, it's too bad that I can't get all the way into the center here, so whatever, we'll just try to get it as far out as we can. So there's our Agoge Center, and it looks like we need a little bit more on, creativity we're good on, but yeah, esteem is also pretty important, so we'll do that. We've got carnivals happening. Now, we could have riots and plagues happening, but because I planned well and I edited that part out, we haven't had any of that, although I did have it in my last playthrough. And it's too bad because it can get a little bit more spicy and interesting when the game is going wrong. It's just that I'm a bit of a control freak right now. I don't want anything to go wrong because then we don't get to see the later ages. Oh, but yeah, you can basically just have a riot and everyone leaves, and that is too bad. Anyway, we don't have any other faction leaders coming just yet, so we've got to wait for these areas to get a little bit more steeped in culture. But anyway, yeah, you can see that these areas with the factions actually have less of a risk of incidents occurring. But if they're on the very inside, actually, the plebs don't seem to have much control. These plebs, what are they doing? Do better, plebs. All right, let's continue increasing the satisfactions with our cultural people. I think that's about it. Oh, I guess we can increase the satisfactions at the Agoge Center? Is that because I chose the philosopher role? Perhaps. Alright, let's see what else we got. So, the other thing that I want to handle here, too, before I forget, is let's improve our production. So, we are going to need quite a lot of just about everything. We did a really good job with stone production, but we didn't get a second cutting camp. So, I think we will upgrade that first. Then we can go in with... Well, we want our base resources getting produced the heck out of them, so let's do that. We could also produce more blueprints. Well, I mean, blueprints are kind of useful for everything, so let's do that, yeah. And then we'll upgrade that structure, so we're going to need more stone and wood and more workers, too. I'm really just trying to push for the Senatus, because that's going to give us the decrees we need. So we're going to do... We have one of everything. Yeah, I think we just have to wait here. Alright, I built just one more cutting camp over here, and we're coming up on day 300, so... we are actually already beyond this, so we are good here, but you have to hit only about 3 out of 4 for them to not barricade one section of your city. But, I mean, we hit all 4, so we're good. We're actually doing a really good job satisfying our population. It seems to me like you either die in the crib in this game, or you just excel. And right now we are excelling, which is, well, good. And hopefully that'll translate to the next stage, too, because if you do really well in one age, some of its structures can kind of carry over and stuff like that. You know, preserving them and stuff, which is quite nice. Anyway, we've got a couple other decorative structures here. I don't really think that these are that good. Or I haven't... I mean, I just want to free up my workers. See, like, look, the area takes up 7 workers. That's a lot of workers. I want to kind of preserve their value for that. Anyway, I think we are able to improve these now. Or is that really going to get in the way of our improvement, our general improvement? Not really. Yeah, I think that this is okay. Let's go ahead and improve our stone acquisition, as well as our... Well, all of them. Alright, we've just got enough to improve our architectural office, and I think that this is pretty much free resources. I mean, free plans, which is pretty important. We've got another faction moving on. So we've got Heliotes at the gate of our city. Heliotes? I don't know what I'm saying. Free citizens, they have no leader, but Theron represents them regularly. These workers are renowned for their expertise in agriculture and food production. They used to be able to feed the Spartan armies entirely. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so then that is Greek, yeah. I don't feel as bad. I don't know Greek. Let me know in the comments section below. I always enjoy reading your phonetic pronunciations. There's no doubt they'll be able to feed our population just as well. Okay, so amazing. So we get a little bit more, like, resource production. The more of these factions we can bring in, the more they're just sort of going to, like, passively continue with all of this. I'm not actually quite sure why we get more gold coins from some of them rather than others. It might be because of their control over certain districts. But maybe some of our viewfinder stuff can kind of help us. See, like, you can see that very clearly that the plebs control... I keep having to say things about... The plebs control everything. You can see the attraction of the city. Do we actually have the malice from the other sections? No. Faction filter. Okay, well, fine. That's good enough. Okay, and the other thing that we finally got is the Senatus. We're going to buy this for 750 plans, and this is an extremely important building because it will now allow us to enable decrees in the Senate, and we can basically pay gold to bring in more workers or do anything like that. It's a very interesting and helpful building. Okay, so we've just got enough resources here to unlock the Senatus. The Senatus will give us a whole variety of things. We'll see him in a minute. But, there's really not anywhere good. We kind of get to the edge of our proximity being useful. I guess we can just kind of overlap some of these areas. The plebs already have their hold on that other side. Whatever, it's fine. And, I think other than that, we definitely want to keep increasing belonging, because that was helpful for... Actually, you know what? Let's increase creativity. Oh, we actually get 2 with this. That's even better. Amazing. Perfect in every way. Alright, let's just continue here. So we are still looking pretty good on our outliner. We're kind of falling behind a bit on buildings, but, you know, as long as we have the resources, the rest will kind of make up for it. Now, the forests do fall down forever, and that's not good. We need to kind of slow down our deforestation before we hit the next age, because this can become problematic, of course. Anyway, we are about 40 gold away now, and we've got like a nice steady intick of gold. Which is nice. Ooh, here we go. Expanding the territory. Okay, so now they will start to have, like, desires. And we can kind of negotiate with each of these factions. So, Stronghold District owned. Coveted District. Oh, yeah, so sometimes they will want more. Hoplites have been established in lands for many cycles. Its leader, Andreas, requests our authorization to extend its territory into a new district. Cycles spent in your city have enabled the faction to acquire a number of advantages, which may be withdrawn or increased as the territory expands. Refusing the expansion will be seen as an affront to the faction and some other factions of that same culture. They will lose trust for all other factions in the culture, but it will improve their power, trust, and they will pay more in taxes. I've generally, in my experience, just been okay with, like, accepting this because we kind of need this for our goals, so fine. Maybe they'll become extremely corrupt and powerful, but whatever. That might be good for us. We're developing political parties. Okay, amazing. Now we have these Senatus. So we can open up the panel. And we can spend gold coins to do any kind of thing. Like, for example, where is it? External recruitments. So if we want to increase migration, and on each of these issues, some of them will, let's see, like the plebs love anything that involves political stuff. But if it's more like militant actions, then the hoplites will enjoy it. So kind of have to keep checking back and forth for that. Okay, we just unlocked another service structure, the Munimentum. We don't have enough for it yet, but these structures are extremely powerful. And how far did that get us on the Esplanade? So yeah, we got tons of building points for building the Senatus, and we are still ahead of schedule, so that is great. Otherwise, we just kind of want to keep our resources balanced and make sure that nothing is at too high a float here. So we've got plenty of food. We can start to increase these farms' efficiency and then free up more workers. So I think I will improve those. But can we get our city center? Well, soon. Soon and very soon. And then we'll get tiles for houses. Oh, and we are getting the followers of Isis at the gates of our city, which is kind of a crazy eyeball guy holding a knife. Okay. Amenhotep has crossed many landscapes to settle in your land. His faction, the followers of Isis, come to share the teachings of their goddess and assert that she can protect life after death. Their initiations and rituals can be observed by all your citizens if you accept them. Okay, yes, of course. We will take them as well. Now we have more and more factions in the city. We have 4 out of 6. We just need the, I guess, the philosophers. I think this is Helotus. It's like an unusual print. I think I'm saying that right. Hoplites. Yeah, there we go. And the plebs, of course. It's all about the plebs. Okay, so now we've got this other panel. I already showed you this, and we are moving. Another request. Okay, so they want us to promote pickaxe strengthening. They're going to start doing this a lot. Unfortunately, this costs a lot of money to get it done, so I don't really see the incentive for this. Sometimes these... I mean, quarry production increased by 15%, but, I mean, we're already depleting it. I just don't really see the point of this. It might make him slightly displeased, but I'm just going to have to run the risk of displeasing the plebs and live with it. Okay, we have finally got something bad happening. It is a fire in the neighborhood. Can we actually stop the incident? Oh, we do have... the military cultural characters whom we can mobilize. So yes, please extinguish that fire. Everything is fine. Nothing happened. And are these actually our... Yeah, these are the deployment of our characters. So we basically have one of each. Oh, I've actually not been doing this for my other factions. So maybe... Seeing as the military faction cultural character is kind of useful for putting out incidents, let's just continue increasing the satisfactions with our other ones. I don't actually know what is the full use of each of these. I mean, I could just keep increasing the factions' satisfactions. So I will do that. I mean, in the absence of anything else, it is better to have a satisfied populations. Where is my Agoge center? There we go. Increase satisfactions. Alright, we are just coming to the point where we can do an upgrade at level 3 to level 4. Alright, so 8 more days until Villa Ambiguini rises to... the next level. Amazing. We probably want to up our wood production and probably slow it off, only because I recall this experience the last time that I played where I actually had too much wood and I depleted all of the forests and it was quite horrible. So we don't want that to happen again. Oh my goodness, it looks extremely dense over here. We don't really even need that much, but that's fine. Alright, we want to keep it away from the city. Anyway, we just got a brickwork and a tilery. I don't think I've had to say that word very often, so this is a problematic moment in time. Anyway, let's go ahead and... excuse me, we got clay, which is the raw resource now. We can use that, and we can get the tilery. There we go. So those two are amazing, and we want to keep those also away from the city. So I think, again, it doesn't really matter here, but we can do the brickwork. Both made from... Wait a minute, both made from clay, right? Oh, sand is made into tiles. That is curious. Well, I'll allow it. Yeah, we'll keep it in all the kind of resource production just so that it is visually easier to navigate. And then what was that? That was our tilery, and now we need our brickwork-ery, I suppose. Alright, so now we have lots and lots of plans. I would say that we are well ahead of schedule here. Alright, we're starting to get more structures for service, so these are actually way better now. I think we probably want to focus on production, so we'll do Horeum here, and that is going to give us the... Here we go, we have the blueprints for it now, and these buildings are just going to contribute so much more to us. So we have clay and wood. We just need to save up some of these resources. We really aren't struggling to meet these demands anymore. We just have to kind of... keep pushing. Once we got those first ones, those were tricky. Alright, we come to the threat of Macedonia. We did get this event the last time, but basically, we are going to be getting a siege. We have the necessary soldiers, and Greek cities have coveted resources, but weakening these cities in order to exploit them could be harmful in the long term. You can seek... So basically, we're trying to decide how much we want to support here. We could either reinforce, seek help, or defend. Basically, which resource are we willing to give up for a few days? We haven't really had any priority on education. We have loads of food right now, so I think we can afford to part with some of our food. So we will help defend the Greek cities. Here we go. Which seems to be, I mean, in line with everything else we've been doing so far. Alright, we've just got the merchants from the port of Tyre, so this is great. This is one of our last factions here. I think we've just got the scholars, or whatever it is next. We don't have any money. Stop asking us for things. We want the migrants anyway. We can use them. Alright, we have finished it. Unlock the cultural building Ludus Magnus in the buildings tree. So fantastic, we got another cultural building. On top of that, we're going to build the Heliaia, and that should bring us to way better, well, satisfaction with everything. Okay, the other thing is that we just kind of... We need to be very careful here to keep up with the growth of our population. This is one thing I kind of neglected to mention, is that if we don't keep our culture like, on top of the rising population, the rising population will start to cause problems. So we really don't want to let it get out of control, I suppose is the other part. Like, there is a limit to good growth, that is to say. I'm going to just kind of slow down and keep pausing here. There's really a lot. Each day is very dense in this game. Alright, we just got the military service building. This is the Monumentum. And that is all putting us right at where we need to be for the next intermediary evaluation. We've got another one at 900. We're almost there in some of these, but this is great because we have less control over faction power, and that's already way speeding ahead. Alright, we've just passed day 600, and on our Esplanade we have passed everything, and we are almost there with many of the other things. So we are, like, full speed ahead here. We're going to have plenty of time before the age changes. Alright, we finally got the Druids of the Isle of Man at our city. Okay, so great. I think that this is the last of our factions. We still just need a couple of these outliners for several of the different factions types. The know-how, urban planning routes, and trade routes. So these are the ones where we haven't built the service building for them, but are we even able to unlock these yet? If we scroll around, we don't actually have those. We may be able to get them later on, or maybe somewhere else, but for right now, the next one is just the Massalum. So there is a little bit more to be done there. But, you know, we could also do maybe one of these wonders if we manage to get far along enough. I mean, the Mausoleum of Halicarnassus. Well, we're going to need a lot of blueprints before that, but that might be amazing if we manage to create it. Alright, we actually need more population now, believe it or not, so I think we are going to corrupt the Senate, so we're going to pay everyone, and we want external recruitment, so we will, corrupt again, and we will spend 231 gold coins. We could raise it. I don't think we have quite that much money, though, but hey, I mean, this would be great for getting more migration in, and right now we're limited by that, mainly, so we have decreed that migration should be increased. And now we're getting, it's 4, I think, every cycle. Or at most 4, but it'll generally trend upward. Decree accepted, here we go. We should be getting that right about now. Yeah, 2 and 5, much better. Right, good, we are increasing the power of the merchants, and that is going to get us to our next major service building. Alright, in addition to all that, we've unlocked the Massalum, which is going to basically be our giant marketplace here. So we can start to offload anything that we have way too much of. We can sell and buy. And we are going to be much more flexible with resources now. We have WASSET available. Passive income, 1 gold every 5 cycles. Yeah, of course, absolutely. We will take a passive trade route. Alright, I think it's time to buy the Mausoleum of Halicarnassus. We have enough blueprint points for it, and we have all the time. I think there's only one more thing that we need. The cost is going to be... We're just missing some sand, which we... I mean, seems like fairly trivial. We will have that within 40 cycles, and that still gives us about 300 cycles till the end, and it's going to take, I think, 100 to finish? Or 150? So we should be able to have this, and yeah, it is great if you can construct one of these things, if not more. From era to era, just because they have these huge bonuses. But, like, yeah, a great boon if we do manage to create it. Alright, this time for the Esplanade, we actually are not going to fully satisfy our people, only because I would prefer to put all of these resources toward the Mausoleum. I just think that the wonder is going to be more impactful in the mists of time. Anyway, we want to put this near a cultural building that we won't want to get destroyed, so maybe the Ludus if we can get it near the Ludus Magnus, except that the area around it becomes buildable, and that's amazing, so I kind of want to just use it to get further out in this direction, or we could put it over... Yeah, this might work. Alright, there we go. It's going up, but it's going to take a really long time. We're improving up to level 5 of Villa Ambiguini, and that should be the last one of the era. Other than this, we've unlocked almost all of our big things, except for urban planning rules and know-how, so we don't have those kind of outliners there. We do have ramparts, though, which we haven't really built up. We could do this to, like, build around the city, although I'm not sure that we're really dealing with this. I mean, we're doing a pretty good job keeping our citizens, like, safe and satisfied. Many cycles have passed since you settled these lands. If you change your age, the Esplanade will immediately render its verdict, causing one district to close. So we kind of want to wait for that. No. let's keep going. We have so much more time left after all. No, absolutely not. Alright, and we are just about to finish the mausoleum right here. Just one day left, and now we can actually build around here, which is pretty great, because we can now harvest more resources, and we're probably going to need more farms to feed our ever-growing population, and we may need a new city center sooner or later. We have a new wonder, so this has been completed. Each and every one of our citizens invest in a great deal of effort. So you must be one of the most important in the world. Does it actually say whether it's going to be surviving to the next era here? New senators, blah, blah. Carnival, we've had carnivals for quite a while. We can just leave that. All right, so now we are pretty safe to advance to the next, except I don't know why it's, oh, we're just barely short on the resources. Okay, I guess if we get a few more, but we could probably get the full, like, set of things. Yeah, we just need to focus on satisfying our population, which should be relatively easy now that we have all these cultural buildings unlocked. I mean, just look at how much there is. This is a very good ancient era for us. I think we just have to put everyone back to increasing satisfactions now. So there's one whole piece to this, even though that I couldn't prevent a little bit more cultural from, you know, spreading into these early, like, inner city districts, we can still build walls around them. So we're going to go here and build some ramparts, maybe just around those first few districts that we couldn't do much with. So maybe there, and that is going to be kind of pricey, but that's goods that we have a lot of them. We could build out after that possibly too, but that would be nice if we could just get a little bit in there to prevent any kind of incidents from occurring there. And we are wrapping up this age pretty fast too. Alright, we have just enlarged our rampart, making less of the city to have so many needs. And I think we were just about ready to meet all of our requirements here. The only one we missed was this one intermediary evaluation, so nearly perfect after face planting horribly a few times, but that is quite nice, and now we can just, oh, we have almost no workers left. Well, we can just build multiples of things that we don't need. And alright, we just got a new age with barely our entire rampart constructed. We had so much culture produced this time, it's not even funny. And look at these cinematics. So we have, I guess this is by cycle, we really came far this time. Whew, oh my goodness. So 1,200 cycles, and that was really like a full age of city building in this, like all of the different factions with all of their various interruptions and everything. Threat from Macedonia, and so when you supported the Greek cities in their defense against the Kingdom of Macedonia, the troops were so galvanized and the battles so grandiose that your common enemies still shudder. But now Hellenic Kingdom formed by Greek cities, the Hellenic Kingdom formed by Greek cities is dreaming of conquest. Okay, so basically we could interrupt or condemn the... well, I guess depending on what we need, we could do better or worse. Well, I mean, most of these are raw trade goods. Yeah, we probably won't need this, except at the same time, which one do we want, really? You know, I will condemn Rome. Okay, we're going to alter history and condemn Rome. Anyway, it seems that we've got all of our requirements met here. Esplanade, we go to preservation and destiny. Okay, so I guess we're trying to decide what we want to keep here. Assigning memory points allows you to protect cultural buildings. Okay, so do we actually just get it by default with the wonder? I think we do, which is what is so amazing about this. What is really going to help us the most, we have to decide. There's so many to choose from. No, I guess we'd probably just want to keep the buildings that are the highest level altogether, right? I mean, that seems to make the best sense and a little bit of balance between everything so that we don't go into the next era, like, completely supporting one faction but not another. So, yeah, we'll just try to keep everything that's a little bit leveled up here. Alright, I've got a set of a bunch of buildings that I think will be relatively okay. We are just going to continue here, and we will continue with our destiny. Probably, I think I wanted all of my philosopher goals to continue here. Yeah. Oh, we'll put a big discount on all of our blueprint costs. That's fine. Yeah, we'll just keep it like that. Alright, we enter the Middle Ages. Alright, so now we have 1,800 cycles, so we have a lot more. Now we need to place Castle Ambiguini. So we could basically put this anywhere, and we have a much larger radius for this as well. So we are going to start spreading out all over the whole world. But, yeah, this is going to be our new city center for what comes next, and most probably we'll start advancing this way because we're just going to run out of room down here. We can still pull from all these old resources, though. I think right about here I'll put it. I mean, we want to just keep it barely connected, right? Alright, so for the Middle Ages, we're sort of keeping what we had from before, and we're sort of restarting in a sense, too. We're keeping some of our cultural buildings and some of our, or actually all of our resource production here. This is all going to stay with us. But we're basically starting with a new city center here. We're going to have to research all of our new cultural buildings again, because we have a whole new set of them. And this is going to happen for each age. So I think from this point on in the video, I'm going to just kind of update at intervals where I feel things are more medieval-y? I don't know. Yeah, basically just developments that I think are particularly remarkable for this age. Because we do have a lot of the foundation, but a lot of our resources and all of that basic stuff stays with us as we go. We are going to have to rebuild some of these forests, though, so... or I guess, I don't know, reseed them? Find new places. We might have to go for a wider area, but do it more slowly now. But that should be fine with all of our new technology. And we're just going to build our influence northward. We have the attrition zone now, too. This is slightly changing up for this age. Okay, along with all that, we have a couple new resource types here. So there's iron as well as gold, and we're going to be processing these into new minerals and... or not minerals, I guess, formulas and compounds and whatnot. But, yeah, we need to kind of locate some of these new resources, which are largely where we've already been, to be fair. Now, the other thing we've got is all of our buildings from the last era, or many of them are in need of repair, which is mostly just a matter of resources. We don't really even need to distribute workers for this, so being good with our resources earlier is starting to pay off, because we do have quite a lot of them here. So we're just going to repair a lot of these, because why not have the benefits from some of these buildings from earlier ages, right? Alright, and we're looking mostly repaired here and ready to continue using our ancient era city. Now, one thing that we can probably do here is to sort of link up our two cities. We can use modern structures to actually affect the old city, and we could kind of bring it over here. I might just put it right next to our new city, simply because it would be nice to get culture going in these first few districts right around the city center. I've also built it all next to a swamp, which maybe in retrospect wasn't the best idea, but we'll be building a few more of these sooner or later. In addition to all of the factions we used to have, we now have the Brotherhood of Flagellants now among our religious peoples. So there are actually more than 6 factions that we've got. They just keep growing through the ages. Alright, we've just started to get a little bit of growth here in our medieval town center. We can see some of the districts starting to rise up, and they're cropping up around our hostel Dio? Yeah. It is hopefully going to give people some culture here, because we are heretofore a bunch of uncultured swine, and it's time to improve Castle Ambiguousamphibian, which is going to give us the gold beater, which will then allow us to actually process all of the gold, because we're mining quite a lot of it, you see. We've discovered that gold is a very valuable resource. It does not corrode, and it is good for trade. Anyway, we are hopefully going to get some of our services back here, because it would be nice to have the Master Builder's office in the library to start actually using our know-how, doing a little bit of urban planning rules. I used this a little bit more the last time, and we actually lost our politics because the Senatus has been sort of deprecated, I suppose. But yeah, I think we need to get the new ages kind of industries going here as our factions continue to kind of level up in the background. Alright, we are getting ready to build a Master Builder's office, which I believe is going to improve our overall, oh, hang on a second, this is technically a service, so we can still use it for improving the culture of our nearby neighborhoods. Oh no, but because we are in a swamp, we actually can't really do that much. Whatever, I'll build it here, that's fine. We are way ahead on everything. Basically, if you set yourself up, and this is the reason I was being very precise with all of my constructions in the antiquity, if you set yourself up really well at the beginning, now we are way ahead on our esplanades. We are already almost like a whole next cycle ahead on many of these satisfactions and things like that. So we're just going to kind of keep with leaning on our old city, because we just did a really good job like building it and setting everything up. But then after this, we can start to get into more of the interesting new technologies of the medieval age. Okay, this is the fun part about the Master Builder's office. So as we keep building our new medieval city, we can modify the urban planning rules here so that we can say, well, make it mostly empty space, or make it more like available for housing so that we can have more citizens in here. So one cool thing about the Master Builder's Office is that we can actually start to change the look of our city. Now, I'm not sure if this is actually beyond cosmetic. I mean, it does increase our available population. I don't see any drawback for this. I mean, floors, average number of floors in the district. Okay, I mean, visual density. Okay, a visual thing, but maximum number of inhabitants. Then we've got a little bit for Antiquity 1, 2, and Middle Age 1. I guess this is just what we've got so far. A lot of this seems visual to me. But, I mean, you can kind of increase the population here, too, so, I mean, it is contributing in some way. I suppose it's just puzzling why it costs money to empty it out, but maybe that's beyond... Maybe I'm not seeing it, I'm not honestly sure, but it is kind of a cool customization, nonetheless. We have received the Knights Templar. We are getting all of the medieval era factions. They seem to be cropping up in the Antiquity city, or the Ancient City, but, these are medieval era factions, which we're going to need to start unlocking more of our important service building types, which are really important to get the show on the road here with the rest of it. Alright, we have just got enough to unlock a library here too, so this is another one of our service buildings. We can get some use of our know-how next. Okay, so we have just unlocked the use of know-how. Know-how is pretty important because it's sort of like whatever you want to call them. They're like basically bonuses here. For example, increasing the minimum and maximum migration by +1. So if we activate this for some of our know-how, I think we got a couple more here from our philosopher as well, if I'm not mistaken. But some of these are more or less useful, like religious charity was great. Reduce minimum district occupancy for faction expansions, 15%. Okay, so we could help our factions along. Our factions are doing pretty well, though, right now. I think more blueprint generation would be pretty great, so let's take another 10% on that. And we've got 7 free slots still, so I think we need to discover the rest of these through its either ancient ruins or... I believe it was also the construction of certain buildings. Yeah, some of them we never obtained the know-how. I'm trying to see where it was we actually... Yeah, the construction of the Gregorian School in the Middle Ages. So through various ages, some things we just didn't build. Like, I'm trying to see if there's one that we've gotten past. Middle Age. Oh, maybe some of them we still can do. Fine. Through various avenues of unlockingment. Okay, we're starting to get a little bit of faction distrust here. For one reason or another, we have not satisfied the hoplites, so we're going to stop taxing them as much to increase trust, because factions do grow more powerful, and you don't really want to upset them because they can cause all kinds of other trouble. So, I mean, our gold is doing pretty well. We're getting plenty of taxes from other people, but for some reason, these people just don't like us. I hope it gets better for them, but, you know, various positives and minuses to helping the factions along, but seeing as that, you know, we need to, like, support them in order to get through some of these ages, we do sort of need to allow, I don't know, like, dissent in one way or another. Okay, I've had to take down a farm here just because it was kind of preventing the expansion of my medieval part of town. I want these to sort of meet eventually. I mean, I might be able to get it to happen, to kind of get all of my city areas chained together. It's kind of like, I mean, it almost has the look of an old European city where you have, like, the old town and new parts of town with various expansions built up. I mean, that's, like, a very vague understanding, but, I mean, if you're an American, if you've ever been to, like, say, for example, any city in the Northeast, like the lower part, or the old part of town where it was all built up from kind of colonialism, so... it kind of like blending these together, it does become this, I mean, honestly, work of art. It looks like looking down at Google Maps or something to see some of this, but I don't know, I regret that I might not be able to actually chain these together because of the whole city's area, but we've got quite a big network going here between our Antiquity and Middle Ages areas. I'm getting rid of yet another farm just because we have so much more farmland over here. This is, I think, more than enough to feed us. We just... Like, there's no point of keeping it here. We want our city to expand. And it's time once again to improve Castle Ambiguousamphibian. Alright, and after losing our decree power from the Senatus, we have just got our House of Grievances, which now means we have access to an even greater variety of decrees here. We are going to... Well, actually, I just need to examine all of these. There are just so many of them to be had. You know, increasing migration again, I think would be fine. I've collected tons of taxes, so let's just corrupt everyone. We could... A new seat in this political... Ah, interesting. We could actually start opening up seats. That would be fairly cheap. But I guess only if they support us. I mean, they don't really support us if we corrupt them. If we added in another seat... Oh, I suppose that this is an entirely different faction. Okay, that's not... I guess if you wanted more of your factions to participate, that could happen. Anyway, now it's just getting more expensive, but this isn't that many gold coins compared to how much we've gotten. So, yeah, we'll increase migration. It still seems to be workers that we are missing, so that is good. Okay, we have come to the last improvement of Castle Ambiguini for the Middle Ages, and we're still only about 66% of the way through, so we've got like a third left. I know we have an epidemic. We are going to just cure it with brute force, so that is an option, but... Yeah, we're starting to get a little bit more craziness, because I'm not sure we are actually able to satisfy our population completely in many of these ways. I've just been replacing some of our resource production, but... Yeah, we may need to build out the ramparts a little bit further. That seems to be, well, I suppose helping a bit. Alright, we are reaching the point where we might be able to build a wonder. This is going to take, however, 225 cycles to complete and cost quite a lot of resources, so I'm thinking we could get Oxford University. It seems doable, and I regret to say this, but I do not think we are going to be able to get the bricks and cut stones in order to create Oxford University, so alas... But, I mean, we still have a lot of cool cultural buildings, and we did pretty well before. I'm not even quite sure how much this other mausoleum really contributed to us. It was nice to expand the building radius, but I think we can bridge our way over to the next land segment pretty soon just to prevent overcrowding. Although we've got some nice, like, hybridization of structures right here. We've got a little bit of a meeting of antiquity with the Middle Ages. And alright, we are just about getting ready here to finish up the Middle Ages. I guess we're getting a look at our old city, Villa Ambiguini. I would prefer to see Castle Ambiguini. Let's skip through here. We've got speaking out. We could improve our citizen satisfaction. I think belonging was very useful. We will go with that. Now, we did actually miss a couple of these goals at the very end here. Missing that wonder really kind of held me back here from the 66 building points. I was getting close, but the fact that my resources just weren't quite there kind of messed us up. And then at the very end, we couldn't quite satisfy our population, so we're getting up to Renaissance here, but it's getting just a little bit iffy if we'll survive the whole thing. Anyway, it is kind of... I mean, it's difficult to adapt every single era. The other thing, too, is it would be... I would have liked to have kind of blended the cities together better. The only thing was that I was starting to run out of room. I think maybe the one major mistake was locating my castle next to a swamp. That I might have done otherwise the next time. Anyway, let's just try to keep all of our highest level buildings together here. Maybe one district? Doesn't really matter, actually. That's probably fine. I mean, most of this stuff we can just kind of, like, salvage out with all of our memory points. And even though that a couple areas got barricaded, we should be okay because of all the memory points we've built up. I think we've been building up ruins as well. I kind of want to stay with one tree. So, let's pick Philosopher again. We'll just continue this throughout the ages now that we're getting into the Renaissance. Alright, it's time to have the Palazzo. Palazzo Ambiguini, the palace. I think we will do this in a very open area. The last time doing that next to a swamp, you know, I wanted to expand for the resources, but we'll see how far we can make it through this era. That was a tricky one to get through. If I have enough watchtowers, I should be able to expand out our resource production, but I do think we have really robust resource production. Oh my goodness, look at that. Looks like something out of Assassin's Creed. Okay, so can we catch up? I mean, it is a fair question. We are not satisfied, and we don't have the building points we require. We're already behind, so I mean, there is something to be said about, like, spiraling downward, which would be quite exciting. But the faction power and the resource points, like, our economy is good, and our factions are quite satisfied. But the people aren't satisfied. So, I mean, now begins either my rise back up to success, or my downward... or my fall downward. One way or the other, I hope it gets a little bit better for us. But honestly, I mean, looking at this, our medieval city couldn't really expand out in all directions. I think we're much better set up here with the palazzo. So maybe we just don't build our resource acquisition right there. Maybe we build out some other way. And cool, we have a charcoal kiln and heating now, so we have family heritage too, so I guess we're kind of centered on... Well, this really is the story of the family Ambiguini, isn't it? Alright, our old know-how was deactivated, it seems, or maybe do we... Oh, we actually do have our middle-age technologies still then, so some of these we could still hang on to if we wanted, I suppose. Except now we have lost access to our politics screen again, and we have to kind of reinvent the wheel here with the Magnum Concilium, as well as a trade palace, which is quite nice. On top of that, it looks like we're going to have to either evolve or repair each of these old structures now in our medieval and our... Actually, also our ancient era. We at least get to retain those bonuses, though. I mean, those were pretty helpful before. All right, we are just getting our first developments here in the Renaissance area of our town, and it looks like some horses and carriages are going out to deliver everything to our new districts. Amazing. And we're ready for our first improvement as well for the, oh, I can't even read that. All right, never mind. Well, we're getting something here, and we are going to get the Hotel Particulier. Yeah. Oh, this is amazing. I don't actually recall this from before, but we're getting reforestation workshops, which is important because we were starting to just run out of forest. And that is pretty important. I did not even know that this item existed in the game, but thank you. We're also getting heating, which is going to allow us the production of lime. We've got lime as a new resource. Alright, we've just got our first reforestation workshop going, so now we don't have to keep moving around our lumber camps. I like this a lot. It's nice to just have something sustainable with workers, and we have a plague. We've also just got charcoal as a resource here. I'm just going to upgrade these because we have a tendency to kind of not do these until they're absolutely necessary, and I want to change that a bit. Alright, I've started to get into just a little bit of trouble here. A lot of my forests have been completely deforested, and many of my nodes for iron and gold collection have been depleted, so I'm having to pick up and move my workshops elsewhere. In the meantime, we are kind of, we're doing well on that, but we're kind of falling behind in terms of population satiation and some of our building points. So we might just have to live with the kind of attrition of getting some areas barricaded from age to age. We can make it for a few, but eventually it may cause trouble. So we'll keep an eye on that and see where it goes. And we've actually run into another problem. I just barely missed this, but we stopped feeding our population. It's just, it sort of came out of nowhere. Like, we've had to erect a bunch of new farms in order to get this to happen, but we've used all of the deforested areas for that, although we're now reforested. It's kind of awkward. We're just sort of working over land, but we're trying to stay as far away from the city centers as we can for our harvesting. I think maybe just one farm on the outskirts is all we can really manage, but it looks like population is starting to rise again. 570. Yeah, okay, we are rising again. We do have surplus food, and we are getting workers back. So we almost lost everything that it all depended on there for a moment. That was bad. All right, we finally got our bank up and constructed. All right, we just got everything up and running now, but I think we are falling behind on our esplanade. The population is starting to get much more satisfied. We are catching up in leaps and bounds, but buildings are a little bit more problematic. I think we'll be able to just slip by here for much of the rest of the Renaissance, focusing on the things that are working for us, and then maybe backtrack somehow later on. And all right, we have just massively corrupted the Senate to increase migration. We've got a massive inward migration here because, well, we desperately need it. We desperately need workers to do all of our incredible projects that we're working on now. There is just so much to do. The one thing is that when you get into the later eras, it seems as though sometimes your powers and your leverage kind of improve if you're very clever with things. I guess I could have, like, brought these cities together a little bit more, although the one thing that I'm getting offered now and then is the opportunity to evolve these. Now, I don't have 340 workers right now. That seems like kind of a lot for what I've got, but I've got a couple factions offering to pay to support, but the main thing we're just lacking is, again, still workers. We seem to be getting bottlenecked here a lot on that, so I'm going to try to check on that and see where we can get with it. And we are just about ready to upgrade Palace Ambiguini to level 4. Alright, I've just been expanding the range of each of my towers, so for all of our proximity, if I can just see the range right here. Actually, let's look at it by trying to build something. So, we've basically made all of the area buildable here. If we improve each of these, we can kind of get a little bit of a better radius around it. I'm wondering if actually, I can't really see it live, but that's pretty close to live. See how much more area around this we have now? So, just loads more area to build in. We can actually expand this out and kind of build our industries in less awkward positions, because I'd been trying to build them on top of swamps and all kinds of stuff like that. No more of that. Plenty of room for our city to expand, and that seems to be the real skill here, is just placing cities in the most optimal terrain for later on. Okay, I'm just reducing all the workers in my various buildings, slightly increasing the satisfactions because I have very little hope of keeping up with the satisfaction anymore, but hey, maybe we could at least just build our way out of this and get lots of econ, even if that means a few more buildings get barricaded over the years. Alright, and we are finally reaching Palace Ambiguini, level 5, only halfway through the era, so if you're very good with your resources, you can basically skip to the end of the era. Of course, we have factions that are like, no, don't do that. We want it to stay this era for a longer time, but we're actually using this to start to catch up here. We are about to, let me just skip ahead to like 10 more cycles, and we are about to actually start catching up. I'm amazed. I thought that when you were behind, you were just behind completely. But it turns out if you are, yeah, here we go, towards a new age, but we aren't able to move. I think it's the plebs that are trying to stop us from going any further. That being said, however, in the Esplanade now, because we were so heavily entrenched in just kind of buffing up our econ, we did actually manage to get back to satisfying our population, freeing up workers, rather than just trying to go for short-term satisfaction. So we didn't get any more barricaded areas. We do have this district, though, that was barricaded. Are we actually able to... I don't think we could... I mean, we have the memory points, which should be able to open up barricaded neighborhoods during the passage of the ages, but I'm not quite sure if I'm able to do this yet. Anyway, kind of like trekking along here at this better location and just getting more of the cultural buildings has been far better in this age. Yeah, we're getting Garrison of Knights, just lots more options this time, fewer problems. Alright, we're just getting up our police station, and we are pretty much making our way through this era. I think we are solidly, like, done with the game in terms of faction power. Resource points are also very well ahead of schedule, but the rest, just the sheer amount of cultural buildings that I need to keep my population satisfied is kind of difficult to keep up with here. We are basically just still on that grind, but I mean, what does it mean? We'll have a couple of areas shut down. I don't think it's going to stop us before the industrial age, and I think we'll probably make it there. Alright, and we are about to sort of fail the second to last evaluation for the Renaissance period. We are going to have one more district barricaded, but that's actually okay. This should still be enough to get to the end through the Age of Enlightenment. We've got one more inspection coming along. I just don't think we're going to be able to keep our population satisfied and build enough. We have been desperately trying to keep up, and we have run out of food several times. But it does get better, maybe, for people like me. We are getting better at feeding our population, and honestly, reforesting has just been a whole massive project, but hey, something nice might happen, and maybe some of us will be left around to see it. Anyway, we've got the rest of these guilds coming in, the like different factions. As we finish, I'm starting to notice that some of the Renaissance buildings have actually made their way into the medieval part of town. I'm not quite sure what structure caused this, but it does look nice, and they blend together well. We had a few of the medieval ones. Oh, there is my closed district. Well, whatever. We don't need them anyway. We've got a few more of these. And the reason I'm not, like, panicking over this, we do have a few of these barricaded, but at the same time, I mean, what? We might get up to, like, 7, but I don't think... I mean, if we keep at this pace, just we're so far ahead with some resources that we should be fine. The main thing is just bringing in the workers, which now we do have enough gold, so I think we could just start to, like, lobby to get more immigration again. So we go here for that. Yeah, encouraging multiculturalism just as much as possible. And everyone is okay with that. Amazing. Amazing, accepted. Oh, the sheer number of political factions that we now have allowed us to free up so many workers. It's insane. Like, we can just get hundreds of workers out of nowhere. So I'm just reducing the workers in every single place by putting, like, a faction leader figure on it, or one of the cultural characters. And then once we do that, we can kind of come back out and just, like, free up hundreds of workers and then put them all toward all these jobs that I've been putting off, which has been preventing me from building all of the cultural buildings. But now that we have this might, like, satisfy our population more. Or I'm not quite sure. Actually, I shouldn't have put it out there, but... well, whatever, we have to sort of live with it now. I mean, keeping everyone satisfied is just this huge job with over 23,000 citizens now. It's quite a lot. Alright, and with all that, we are just about to reach the end of the Renaissance era. So, I mean, pretty much as we have been, we're continuing on a tradition of failing one district at a time for each quarterly check here, which... seems to be basically sustainable once we've gotten out of the basic parts of the game. Anyway, we should be just shutting down one more district here. So that puts us at 4. And I mean, if we keep at that pace, that would put us at 8 by the end of the Age of Enlightenment. So that would get us all the way to the... I mean, that would at least get us to the Industrial Era, which was really my goal here, because... this is my first time experiencing these mechanics. I think it's really neat the way that these cities have been developing, just kind of coming up and looking past each one. Although I guess they don't... maybe, like, they touch a little bit at the very end. All right, here we go with another kind of cinematic look at all of my eras of city. I guess that this is all my Renaissance. Oh, no, this is actually just... can we actually scroll this? Oh, we can if we go all the way up here. Then we can see... anything. Alright, that is nice that we can actually just kind of like customize this look for ourselves. Alright, let's skip the cinematic though for now. We're going to continue into the next age. We're just going to try to keep as many buildings as we can. And then we will progress toward the Age of Enlightenment. Alright, and I think we're going to keep with the philosopher role here for the know-how slots. Those were really valuable to us before, so we're just going to stick with them again, I think. I wish I could have more of them. Anyway, so this is another 2400 cycle one. And look at all of the land we have. Place ambiguity. So it's not really any... yeah, we're not really dealing with palaces anymore. This is the downfall of monarchs, I suppose, here. Anyway, there's not really that much room left to build on. We do actually have a couple of edges to this map, so I guess we have this area as well as this area. I think I had started back here a while before. I think we've already played here, but this area is really good. Maybe I'll just place it here again. And then after this, we'll get to the age of or the Industrial Revolution. We'll probably end up putting Industrial Revolution somewhere around here. That would be fine. I mean, this looks like a really nice open area, though, for our city. So, yeah, right there, I guess. Okay, just going to place that down, and that should be plenty of room. So we're not really getting any structure here, but we can immediately afford the improvement just because we have so many resources. We really built up our resource game. We've already beaten... step 1 on that. But we need 1140 faction power, which we're at only 875 right now, but that's still enough to beat our last area. I don't think that this should take too long for all our factions to get started, but what do we have here? Do we get... some of these surveyors' cabins were extremely useful the last time. Alright, and we are starting to get to, like, more modern technologies almost here. Alright, we just have to repair everything now, if we can, starting from the ancient era, because there's just a lot of cities to manage. It's really becoming a lot of town to manage here. I'm wondering how I'm actually going to keep up with this. I might have to use some of the bigger outliners. Like the economic outliner is pretty useful. I mean, some of these I want to keep the production going. I actually don't know why some of them have stopped. But, yeah, we can pretty much keep all of that going for now. I don't think there's any reason to stop. Most of the repair costs are fairly trivial, though, so I can get them all going, like, right on the first swoop. Like, see, we've got all of the ancient area. Everything from antiquity is just done. Maybe a little bit of extra wood is required, but each time it's a little bit more, so there is that, too. But just keep everything active, make sure that everything's still going, all of our wood is replenished. I don't know why, some of these seem to just keep deactivating on themselves. I don't think I'm hitting a ceiling, but I can't figure out what other threshold it is, but we seem to... I mean, we seem to be doing okay when we aggregate all of our resource acquisitions, so I think we'll be good here. Okay, and it looks like that our Enlightenment era city has already expanded quite a lot outward, but it goes straight to the roads, which is really interesting. This is not developing like my earlier eras did. It's just kind of going straight for the roads, so that's kind of cool. I like this how it differs era to era a little bit more. I don't remember that happening with my other ones, but this is... I mean, at least it seems to be developing a completely distinctive pattern already. Okay, the good news, despite the fact that we are facing some pretty high-power demands right here in the Age of Enlightenment, we've actually just got, like, all of the houses going up. This is so widespread already. We are not keeping up with as many of our... the game is getting harder and harder here as we go. I mean, we just couldn't satisfy our population or build enough, and now it is kind of compounding, but... Other than that, we have been pretty much hanging on and depending on our other means of producing, but I've now just been using the resource outliner for getting everything done because there is quite a lot to be done here. We are unable to even get started right here. It's just going to take so many cut stones and so many free workers just to get our orangery going right here, so... I don't know, I almost feel like that we had everything going for antiquity and then we slightly fell off for the medieval era, but I don't know, trying to catch up here is a challenge, so we'll see what we can put together, and hopefully we won't get too many districts shut down, but I think, you know, the fact that we have no limits on where we can build now, we can just go for, like, the optimal placements on a lot of these things. I'm just gonna place a lot of these things and hope to, like, just, utilize my incredible economic powers to get me through this, because I do think we can get it done. It's just that, we were so limited before in the earlier eras. Alright, we're finally just getting almost everything repaired from the previous eras, and we're about to get the show on the road. I still think we can just carry ourselves through these two ways of acquiring resources for the Esplanade. Okay, we finally have enough for an orangery, because we want to get our Senate ready so that we can start to actually do some decrees for this era. We are going to just do anything we can right here. We have to get this up and running. Alright, in the meantime, our resources are actually doing great. We are so far ahead. We're, like, beyond where we need to be, but our faction power has really lagged because we just haven't been able to get them up and running here. We can get a couple more of these things going once we start to get some more cultural buildings going, but we're just going to have to wait for the Enlightenment factions to catch up, so... it'll be a little bit of catch-up, but it's going to be a bit of a nail-biter. Alright, we're finally getting up our international university here, and this is hopefully going to get more factions installed around here. Alright, each building is doing quite a lot now. We're just getting tons of people moving in here. Look, the population density is improving as well. Alright, and we are getting in a paper mill. There's so much to be done. Oh, an unfortunate turn of events. Some residents have actually become so dissatisfied that they've just barricaded themselves in. Beginnings of a revolt. You know, we probably could somehow overcome this through decrees, but again, we need to re-unlock our politics. We just haven't kept up with this era, unfortunately, so we still might just barely make it, because we've got only maybe 3 more checks, but I mean, once we get to the industrial era, things are going to get... kind of spicy. Alright, next up we're gonna just put in a convent for some religious orientation here. It's time once again to improve place ambiguity. And all that is gonna be enough for a perfume distillery. We've just got a few more workers freed up and we can get these 3 districts there ready. And this is actually starting to look really nice, just like with the bridge crossing and everything. All of my civilizations coming together like a vast European cityscape. Alright, and we are finally catching up on the Esplanade here. We're well ahead again, and we should be on course to make it to the industrial era. Alright, and we're just getting foundries and glassware made so that we can create, we actually have 2 new resources here. It's, glasses, as well as, what was the last one? Font. And we've also got enough to unlock Parliament, so we should be building this soon so that we can get decrees going again for this era. Along with all that, we can get this beachside fortress, which actually looks pretty cool, I think. This actually looks like some real forts from this time. Alright, and we've got our law courts going now. Alright, and we've just made it through another check, and it looks like we are going to get maybe 1 more district closed, but that leaves only 2 more, so that'll put us at 9 out of 11 before we get to the final age. And we are finally getting up our parliament building at last. And we are ready for Palace Ambiguity Improvement number 5. We are ready for the Industrial Era. Alright, we're just building some ramparts here, and maybe we'll start to improve the attraction and satisfaction. Alright, and we've just got out those ramparts, and that should stabilize our people. Alright, I didn't realize quite how much these ramparts help us. I probably should have built them in earlier eras, but I do think this is actually going to start to improve satisfaction because we'll just have fewer needs. So I'm going to start to try to surround more of the population. And there we go, that is most of my population surrounded. Oh, would you look at that? We actually caught up with the satisfaction there. So that was one of the pieces I was missing. Okay, there are some little pieces here I just feel as though I've missed a lot of the time, but I think we're starting to catch up. This might actually help us through the Industrial Era. Alright, and with all that, we've got our Age of Enlightenment, we've got our Renaissance, and even our Medieval Town Center kind of being upgraded here with the ramparts, as well as our Antiquity area, which we actually did multiple sections. So it's kind of cool, a little bit more customization on the town, and that actually does improve all our satisfaction. We've actually caught up, something I never expected would happen, and we're actually not closing down districts. This means we've stabilized the game. And okay, just 4 more cycles and we will have finished with our rampart upgrade on the, it's kind of hard to see here in the Enlightenment part. I suppose it looks kind of just like the roofs here anyway, but you can kind of see it around. Anyway, it's kind of cool, like responsive type of design. I mean, neat. I didn't quite manage to surround the entire town, but that does improve our satisfaction, or not really improve our satisfaction, it just means that we need less to be satisfied if we build these ramparts. Like, for example, this one, which is good, decreases the need for health and safety for each inhabitant by 20%. So think of all the people that are being surrounded, even just in this one small spot. But basically, if we've reduced that, then we've kind of improved the magnitude of everything else being you know, the surrounding of everything else. We could keep going up to higher levels with this. I mean, we could do this one little city center area. This would kind of be a lot of workers, so I've tried to improve it even more, and I've just erected one enormous wall around the entire thing. Honestly, it would have been probably better if I had just done one big wall to begin with, but I mean, I've got it for next time. Besides, the one thing you can't get too carried away with is the city can keep expanding out even after the era ends. Like, I've had my Antiquity city just keep going beyond the bounds here, and this is like... I remember there was this drawing book when I was a kid, or it was like this book of illustrations that showed how a city is built from the beginning, and how, like, part of it is walled, but it might just continue expanding outward, and this seems like... I don't know. Like, fairly authentic, and it is just a very nice historical kind of recreation to see in that way. So we can just sort of keep on going here. I've gone way out with our Enlightenment town just because I think that there's a lot of people living here, and if we could decrease their status... Yeah, here we go. So we've pretty much already got it. We are at 25,181 population satisfied score, so that should get us all the way out there. Who would have thought that erecting an enormous wall around our entire population would have satisfied them so thoroughly? I mean, I had tried it with a lot of the buildings, but I guess I hadn't really thought of it from the angle of, like, decreasing it or kind of adding in discounts. So, I mean, helpful for the next time. I guess I could probably wrap up each era a lot more cleanly without even getting those 7 districts closed, but good to know, and I did figure it out in enough time, I feel, at least to save me. And okay, with about 3 cycles left on our Enlightenment era rampart, this is looking good. We've got almost the entire city surrounded. Everyone should be very, very satisfied in there now. It gets better for people in there. We've got 10 cycles left, and honestly, we have pretty much gotten through the entire game. We were doing great, and then we struggled, and then in the denouement, we came back, and oh my gosh, look at how big this one got. Like, I did not expect that. I hope we managed to finish off this wall, despite the fact that we are changing ages here. Hang on a second, let's just scroll ahead so that we can see a cinematic view of our, yeah, there we go, our Enlightenment era. So now, we come to an era of the game that I have not tried yet before. The last time I did get up through Enlightenment, I believe. We're gonna just save a couple of these, and then we'll get started on Industrial. Okay, I'm supposing that we are just going to continue on our destiny unless if we are able to take a whole new... Oh, cool. So we can actually take a whole new tree of upgrades. All right, I will take strategist so that we have less likelihood of incidents from perturbance. Okay, so... Oh, this one is only 1800 cycles. I suppose history is, after all, accelerating, but honestly, where do we even put it? We have... basically, no room left. Well, I suppose we could build over here. We do have one spot. I guess we could really even go through two more, but this one is very interesting. We have sort of like a town hall here. Maybe it'll start to build on roads like the last one. Anyway, let's give this a try and see what this is like. Manufacture ambiguity improvement. Alright, so now we're in the next era. We gotta improve. Let's just see what we've got here that changes, because... I mean, if everything is... Oh, cool. So we've actually got... We've got only two requirements here. So collection points and medals. Interesting. Well, we can start off with a town hall. That should be pretty simple to begin with. And oh my goodness, they're already developing so many sections to town. Look at this. It's just spreading rapidly. I should have left more room over there because... I had more room for the Enlightenment era city, but we are not going to have room. But oh my gosh. It's like we already have an entire town, just history is accelerating. Gosh, to think we might even get up to like 100k pop at the end of this. I'm not sure I'll even be able to manage all. There's just... Although I suppose that once we have the, now that we have all of the, like, people satisfied from the earlier cities, there might not be quite as much to deal with in terms of, like, incidents and goings-on. But alright, this has already just become a massive, massive sprawl. This is totally different from all of the other eras. I think we'll go with Town Hall, maybe... Oh wow, department stores, engineer's office. We even have hangars. This is interesting. Alright, and we are just about coming to the end here. I didn't manage to get all of the structures, but I did manage to get one that was worth, I think, in the 30s of points. So, yeah, I mean, if our economy... I thought our economy was pretty robust because we were so far ahead of schedule, but I guess now I have a better idea of the next time I get to this real final part of scoring, what I'll need to do. I did get some of the milestones, though. I got one. I got at least one collection point, and we're about to get a big one coming in right now, so... I mean, it does look really visually interesting, too, just with all of the, like, hot air balloons or whatever this is. That's definitely one, but... Or is it a weather balloon? I'm not sure I am really qualified to give the fine distinctions between them, but... It is neat, and it's nice to bring in some industrial-era buildings. Maybe I would have tried to do one megacity looking back, just have them all kind of connect. Maybe even their richest parts, have that be my goal, because, I knew this was something that was, like, kind of in the scope of the game, like, trying not to just build a bunch of separate cities, but it's also just tempting because you want more space for them to kind of sprawl out. Wow, look at the size of our industrial area, too. I haven't even really prioritized this, but it's just kind of grown on its own. I've been more working just on the final project. Got a few more cycles left, though, and then we'll be wrapping up. And we are coming to the end here. You know, I have a lot of resource floats that, looking back, I probably could have done a little bit more, but I gotta say, like, all the managing 5 different cities really pushed my econ brain to its kind of saturation point. I probably, if I were to do it again, I would have located a lot of my industries, one right next to the other. Maybe a couple of my camps just a little bit further out, too, because I kind of clustered them all together before upgrading them. I probably would have upgraded and then spread them out a bit more, just kind of consolidating all of the decisions that I made. But overall, I mean, I did survive the ages, which I think is the main fear, having 10 districts barricaded. You still would have so many, though, so maybe a little bit puzzling there, but I mean, hey, I did survive. I think we'll just leave these nodes of resources left over because we have only 10 cycles left, and at this point, we won't even have time to add anything else. What did we get? How many collection points? 486. Alright, I mean, it is in the hundreds, so, it's something. Anyway, let's see what we get for our final scoring here. 98, 99, and 1800. End of the game. The last stone has been laid, and the last citizen has been born, the last cycle is past, and here ends the Industrial Revolution. Will we ever get the modern era? Have you lived up to your citizens' expectations? Have you? The entire team thanks you warmly for your investment in this great adventure. We look forward to... so do we actually get... Okay, so we get our kind of final scoring here. I didn't get my collection points, so that is sad for me, but does it add to any type of meta score or anything? The end of an era, I did get a victory, progression, men gather in cities to live. They stay there together to enjoy life. The end of the age is coming to an end, and with it, your reign. Your family has remained at the head of the city for thousands of cycles, and although everyone has their own opinion of your governance, I mean, it's amazing that we kept power that long. The ambiguities. You have succeeded in the task of leading everyone to the end of the Industrial Revolution. Wow, that is pretty surprising that we managed to keep a stable government structure for 2,000 years. Admittedly, the collection isn't quite as splendid as everyone imagined, but it's certain that you'll never be forgotten in the history books. Okay, so I didn't get remembered for my collection quite as much, but hey, I did complete 9,600 cycles. All right, cool. So we have our score sheet, and that's that. Amazing. All right, well, on that note, I think we're going to call it there for today. MEMORIAPOLIS. If you ever wondered what it would look like to do a through-the-ages city builder, there you have it. Once again, this video has been sponsored by MEMORIAPOLIS. Big thanks to 5PM Studios for sponsoring. If you enjoyed the video and you decide you want to give the game a look, I would appreciate it if you click my link in the description. The game's just released with the Industrial Revolution update, and the 1.0 is here. And as always, I'm ambiguousamphibian. I do hope you found something more you enjoy from this video, and as always, until next time.